What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. This is my full card breakdown and prediction video for Dana White's Contender Series week number 4.
I need all the wins, yeah. Harder than all that is. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out.
And we are back for another Dana White's Contender Series breakdown and prediction video. This week, we are breaking down week number 4, a card that I think is pretty solid, absolutely should deliver. I think we're going to get a lot of finishes on this card as well. So yeah, no complaints for me. Before we get started, if you guys can please leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. If you have not already, I'll be getting out UFC Paris content, which is why this video's out a little bit later than usual. I feel like I've taped like 3 Contender Series cards in just the span of the last couple days with like 10 newcomers on the Paris card. But yeah, so Paris content will be dropping, Prize Picks, DraftKings, all that, so make sure you are subscribed so not miss out on that. If you do want to support me more, or if you do want extra content for Dana White's Contender Series, you can check out dfsbythenumbers.com. There I'll post my fighter notes, my betting breakdown article, and then my betting breakdown video, and it looks like they have all the props out. At least on BetOnline. So I'll be getting that out hopefully sometime today. But yeah, with all that out of the way, I say we get right into it, and we're going to start with the first fight on the card. And we have Mitch Ramirez going against Carlos Prates. We will start with Carlos Prates here, who is 30 years old. He is 6'1" with a 78.5-inch reach, 16-6 and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Mitch Ramirez, 30 years old, 6'2", 7-0. And obviously 5-0 in his last 5 fights. So Carlos Prates, this guy is training out of Valet Top Team in terms of notable wins or losses. So he beat somebody named Charles Oliveira, but not the UFC lightweight Charles Oliveira, a different one. But it looks kind of cool on the record, I guess. But other than that, really hasn't fought or really beaten anybody too notable, but not like terrible level of competition, I'd say, for Prates. Prates, very good finisher. Both these guys are. He has a 69% knockout rate and then a 19% submission rate for an overall finish rate of 87%. Some notes I have on Prates: this guy's very long and rangy, very kick heavy, throws with power, and throws those kicks very often as well. I saw him destroy somebody with this knee he landed, just put the guy out cold. This guy has a ton of power. He loves the head kick, will throw it multiple times a fight, and will throw it with power. It kind of reminds me of like when I'm playing UFC on the Xbox and I'm trying to knock somebody out in 60 seconds. I'm just spamming the head kick. That's what this guy does. I mean, this guy, all he throws is that head kick, and it's dangerous. Like, he throws it, and it lands, and he puts guys out with that head kick. I've seen him hurt multiple guys and finish multiple guys with that head kick. He's very calm and composed, a very high-level striker that picks his shots very well. Doesn't throw his hands that often, but when he does throw his hands, he does have some pop in his hands as well, but primarily looking for those kicks and very good kicks at that. Takedown defense looks to be pretty good. Very hard to take down, and I think his takedown defense, keeps improving, and he's probably going to need to use that takedown defense in this matchup. Mitch Ramirez, this guy is training at Syndicate MMA as far as I'm concerned. In terms of notable wins or losses for Mitch Ramirez, he did beat Ryder Newman, and it was his pro debut, I believe. He beat Ryder Newman. Ryder Newman is somebody that did fight on one of the recent seasons of The Ultimate Fighter, I think the Nunez season, where Trayshawn Gore beat Ryder Newman there. So outside of that, has not really fought the best competition at all. Mitch Ramirez, another really good finisher, an 86% finish rate overall, 56% of those coming by knockout, 28% of those coming by submission. Some notes I have on Mitch Ramirez: solid leg kicks and loves to attack his opponent's legs. He's very patient on the feet, sometimes a little too patient. He can get hit clean. Striking defense does not look that great, but he does show a very good chin. He's one of those guys that likes to have fun in there. He likes to talk to his opponent, and he will showboat a little bit as well, which I don't love. Striking defense and willingness to eat shots worries me, especially here. And he's going to need to be very, very careful and defensively sound on the feet. You don't want to eat a flush head kick from this guy. I saw him get a nasty leg kick knockout. I think it was his last fight. So his leg kicks are very, very heavy, and he does do damage with those. So he will go for some takedowns, and I imagine he'll be looking to get the fight down to the mat here in this fight. And on top, he does have good control, and his opponents stay there. He also has a couple submissions as well. So final thoughts on this matchup. I like Prates here. I think he's the much better striker, very high-level striker. I love the head kick that he goes to. And with the questionable strike and defense of Ramirez, I could see one of those head kicks landing and ending his night very early. So I expect Ramirez to look to grapple here. And as long as the takedown defense of Carlos Prates holds up, I think at some point he is going to land a big head kick and put this guy's lights out. So give me Carlos Prates to win this fight. I'll take him to win this fight by first round knockout. Really good fight to kick off the card here. Moving on, we have, let's see here. So we have Yousri Belgaroui going against Marco Tuilio Silva, nicknamed RoboCop. So Belgaroui, we'll start with him. Belgaroui is 31 years old, 6'5", 5'2", and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Marco Silva, this guy's 28 years old, 6 foot, with he's 9-1 and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. So we'll start with Belgaroui here. So Belgaroui is training at Teixeira MMA and Fitness over there with obviously Glover, Alex Pereira. I think Wellington Turman was there, and then I also think that Rodolfo Vieira even does some work there. But yeah, training with really good guys there. This is a guy that, in terms of notable wins or losses in MMA, none. But this guy has a very extensive kickboxing background. He actually went 1-2 against Alex Pereira, beat him once, and then lost twice. And then he also lost twice, went 0-2 against Israel Adesanya. So he's fought some really good guys in terms of kickboxing. He's a very good striker. So this guy, Belgaroui, has an 80% finish rate. And all of those come by knockout, no submissions on his record. This guy has a lot of power. Some notes I have on Belgaroui, like I said, he trains at a great gym with some killers. He has a kickboxing background. Belgaroui went 27-7, I believe, in kickboxing with 12 knockouts there. This guy is just massive for the division. I went to his Instagram. I saw a picture with him standing next to Alex Pereira, and he was looking, much bigger than Alex Pereira, which is ridiculous. I mean, Alex Pereira is typically towering over, light heavyweights, and this guy was looking much bigger than Alex Pereira. I mean, this guy is massive. So very heavy leg kicks on the feet. He's great at range, and he's very long. I'm not sure what his reach is, but it's got to be something ridiculous. I mean, this guy has to have like an incredible reach, and he most definitely has a reach advantage in this matchup. Guys are obviously looking to take him down nonstop, and rightfully so. But we know he's working on that ground game. We know he's working with Glover and trying to improve that ground game, trying to improve that part of his game overall. Really good pressure. And he's always looking for the knockout. This guy has a lot of power. He attacks the body very well. He's folded multiple guys with shots to the body. I love his body shots. And then when he smells blood, he just swarms the guys and he looks for the finish. In terms of the takedown defense, went and watched every fight I could. His takedown defense actually doesn't look bad at all. This guy is very big. He's hard to take down. Have seen him taken down, and when he is taken down and on his back, obviously he doesn't offer much, but he actually doesn't do a bad job in terms of working his way back up. So with that, and then on top of working with guys like Glover Teixeira, I think this guy could be pretty good. In terms of Marco Silva, this guy is training at a Shoot to Box Diego Lima, another great gym. So we got 2 great gyms going out of here. In terms of notable wins or losses, nobody, but he was supposed to fight Val Woodburn, I think on this season of Contenders, or on Contender Series. But Woodburn did sign to fight Bo Nickel at UFC 290. So would have fought Woodburn, but now he is taking on Belgaroui. So, he's a finisher as well. 78% finish rate for Silva, 67% by knockout, 11% by submission. Some notes I have on him. It's obviously he's going to be very undersized here in this matchup. This guy is 6 foot. He's going to be at a big reach disadvantage too, you got to imagine. Very fun striker, though. This guy will stand and trade until one man falls. He shows great composure, has a lot of power. I like the volume, the pressure, the power that he brings to the table. He isn't afraid to throw down in the pocket. I mean, this guy, I like what I see from the guy. He will go for takedowns, and more than likely, he will be trying to get takedowns in this fight. I don't really see why he wouldn't at least, attempt to get this fight down to the mat. And he has a very solid ground game on top. He's able to get to dominant positions, mount, do some damage and finish fights. He can be taken down and controlled himself, but that's something he really probably won't have to worry about in this matchup. So yeah, I think this is one of the closer line fights on the card. We have Belgaroui minus 135, Silva plus 105, which I believe is the closest line fight on the card, which makes sense because I think this is probably the most well-matched fight on the card. I'm very high on both these guys. I was very impressed with both these guys. Like him a decent amount, but in terms of picking a winner, I do like the high-level kickboxing experience of Belgaroui. I think that can't be ignored. I like the size of Belgaroui, the reach advantage he's going to bring to the table here. I also like the fact that he is working with Glover. He's working on that takedown defense, that ground game as a whole, rounding out that game. And prior to that, I mean, the takedown defense already looked good to me. So I think he does find a finish here to the body at some point in this fight, but don't get me wrong, both these guys are pretty good. I like both these guys a lot. I wouldn't mind seeing, either guy in the UFC, but, we already have one RoboCop, right? We already have one RoboCop, Gregory Rodriguez, and I don't know if there's room for another. So I'm going Belgaroui. I like this guy's striking, super high-level striking. I think he finds a knockout at some point in this fight. Really, really good fight there. One of my favorite fights on this card. All right, another really good fight here. We have Mateo Vogel going against Timothy Cuamba. We'll start with Vogel here, who is 27 years old, 5'8", with a 71-inch reach, 8-2, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Timothy Cuamba, this guy is not sure on the age. I looked everywhere. I looked at all of his fight. I couldn't find the age, but I'm assuming he's somewhat young. He's 5'8", not sure on the reach there as well. And he's 6-1 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. We got Vogel minus 160. Cuamba plus 130, pretty closely lined fight here. So Vogel, as far as I'm concerned, is training at the Fight Factory, which I think is probably in Canada. This is a guy that, in terms of notable wins or losses, he actually has some notable loss and a notable win. So his notable loss comes against Damon Blackshear, which was by decision back in 2021. We all know at this point, how legit Damon Blackshear. I mean, Damon Blackshear is very legit, and he was able to go, the full, 15 minutes with Damon Blackshear, right? And then against Garrett Armfield in 2021. He ended up beating Garrett Armfield by submission in the second round, and we'll talk more about that fight. So Vogel is a good finisher, a 13% knockout rate, 63% submission rate for an overall finish rate of 76%. Some notes I have here on Vogel. He is a BJJ black belt with a solid level of competition. He was the BFL featherweight champion, and I think we saw on the Contender series in week 2, I think, there was another BFL champion, the heavyweight dude, I forget his name, but yeah, BFL champion in the featherweight division. So clearly looking to get the fight down to the mat early and often. He is not the best striker by any means, but that's not his game. On the feet, he has a very kick-heavy style, doesn't look too comfortable on the feet, doesn't really throw his hands much, but he has a very good chin. This guy's very tough. He took an absolute beating against Garrett Armfield in the first round, and I'm talking, borderline 10. I mean, this guy was getting pieced apart. His face was all busted up. Garrett Armfield was doing work against this guy. But in the second round, was able to get a hold of him, drag him down to the mat, take his back, almost choke him out early in the second round, almost choked him out again. Armfield was able to fight through it, and then eventually he was able to sink in the choke, and he submitted Garrett Armfield, which is a very good win. We just saw Garrett Armfield this last Saturday go out there and get a first-round knockout. Garrett Armfield is another really good fighter as well. I have seen him make some mistakes on the mat and end up, on bottom, but he is very dangerous on bottom. He will go for submissions nonstop. He's definitely submission over position, which I don't really love. But like I said, he's always looking for the submission, whether he's on top, whether he's on bottom. He's very, very active in terms of trying to finish the fight. He can be a little bit too content to be on his back for my liking. But like I said, he can win moments and he can end fights, whether he's on top or bottom. Cardio seems to check out. I did see him go 5 rounds. Grappling and ground game is very, very impressive to me, and he's going to be looking to get the fight down to the mat, and he's not going to want to stand with this guy, Cuamba. So Timothy Cuamba, I'm not sure where he's training. He looks like I went to his Instagram. He's doing some work at Big David's Conditioning, which has some MMA going on there, conditioning, strength and conditioning stuff. But I was watching one of his last fights, and the announcers were talking about how Cuamba's working with some UFC guys. So I'm not entirely sure where he's at. If you guys know, let me know down in the comments. But yeah, this is a guy in terms of notable wins or losses. Nothing. I mean, this guy's fought very, very low level competition. Some notes I have on Cuamba. He's a decent finisher, 50% finish rate. He's finished half his wins, and those all come by knockout. He looks to be a very solid striker, good pressure on the feet. He's very composed, very technical. I mean, this guy Very, very good striker there. Very quick hands and has some pop with his hands as well. Good volume and combinations. Boxing is very good. One of the announcers were talking about how he really likes his boxing, and you can tell. I mean, this guy's a really good boxer. He will easily have the striking advantage in this matchup. I mean, I don't think it's going to be close. Garrett Armfield, another guy that's a very good boxer, was able to piece up Vogel a couple fights ago. So, in terms of the ground game for Cuamba, this is a guy that he can mix in takedowns as well offensively. Good pressure. This is a guy that has good pressure control on top. When he's on top, his opponents typically don't get up. Really good ground and pound as well. His ground game actually looks pretty decent when he's on top. But if he goes to the ground in this matchup, he will be putting himself into serious danger. I would be shocked if Cuamba went for takedowns in this fight specifically, but there has been quite a few fights where he is looking to get the fight down to the mat, but he really shouldn't here. If he ends up on bottom against Vogel, he is going to be in a world of trouble. The only loss that Cuamba does have on his record was actually by submission. I think it happened in the second round. He actually fought out of a submission or two, and then he ended up giving up the choke there in the second round. So yeah, I think if this fight hits the mat and Cuamba, whether he's on top or bottom, I think he could be in trouble, but especially if he is on bottom. Vogel's ground game is no joke. So some final thoughts I have on this matchup. It's a striker versus grappler matchup here. Vogel has fought the much better competition. It's not even close whatsoever. Vogel is going to be at a striking disadvantage here, but he is tough, he is gritty, and he's always looking to get the fight down to the mat. He is going to be dangerous whether he's on top, whether he's on bottom. And when this fight hits the mat, and if he does get on top, I think he can look dominant here and finish this fight by submission. So I'm going to take Vogel by submission. I think this guy has a little bit of dog in him. I think at some point he is going to drag this fight down to the mat. And once this fight does hit the mat, I think there's going to be a big levels difference in terms of the ground game between these two. But yeah, on the feet, Cuamba's a really good striker. It's just at some point I do see this fight hitting the ground. And when it does, it's going to be bad news for Cuamba. So give me Mateo Vogel to win this fight. I'll take him to win this fight by second round submission. Moving on, we have Thomas Peterson going against Chandler Cole. We will start with Thomas Peterson here, who is 26 years old, 6'1" with a 72-inch reach, 7-1, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Chandler Cole, 28 years old, 5'10" with a 75-inch reach, 10-3 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Thomas Peterson, the biggest favorite on the card, minus 510, and we have Cole sitting at plus 385. I checked these odds earlier, and he was like minus 800. So some money has came in on Chandler Cole here. So starting with Thomas Peterson, he's training at Spartan MMA. This is a guy in terms of notable wins or losses. He did lose to Waldo Cortez Acosta. It was last year, or maybe 2 years ago. It wasn't too long ago, though, by third round knockout. And there's no shame in that loss whatsoever. He did slow down as the fight went on and got put out in the third round. But we just saw Waldo Cortez Acosta go out there and spark Lucas Bresky in the first round there. And Acosta is 3-1 in the UFC. I think Acosta's a pretty good fighter. So no shame in that loss whatsoever. Thomas Peterson, a 100% finish rate. All of those come by knockout. No submissions on his record. So some notes I have on Thomas Peterson. This guy gets after it early and often. He's looking to close distance, put his opponents against the cage, and take them down. He has pretty good wrestling and control on top, especially. When he gets on top of his opponents, they're not getting up. They're staying there, and that is going to be the case in this matchup as well. Really, really good ground and pound. Also will land some nasty elbows. This guy has really heavy hands on the mat. There was this one fight where he got on top of this guy and just some of the most brutal ground and pound I've ever seen, just like put the guy out cold with the ground and pound. It was kind of hard to watch. I mean, it was vicious. Once he gets into mount, I mean, the fight's over shortly after. This guy's ground and pound's no joke. His control's very impressive. He takes his opponents down with ease. I'm very, very impressed with Thomas Peterson's ground game. He has some power on the feet as well, and he can knock out guys cold on the feet too. He did slow down, like I said, against Waldo Cortez Acosta. So if this fight does get extended, I mean, I think it's going to look pretty ugly, but I don't really expect this fight going past a round and a half, to be honest. In terms of Chandler Cole, this guy is training out of Team Oxidine MMA. This is a guy in Chandler Cole who, in terms of notable wins or losses, he did lose to Ante Delea. in 2021. Delay is a pretty good guy in the PFL, and he also did fight on The Ultimate Fighter in the Nunez Pena season, which was a season I didn't really care for, but he did lose in that season. I think he lost by like third round finish by knockout. So in terms of Cole's finish rate, both these guys have a 100% finish rate. Cole has an 80% knockout rate and 20% by submission. So neither of these guys have ever won a decision. So some notes I have on Chandler Cole. He's very undersized for a heavyweight, standing 5'10". Great finisher, though. He has power. He will throw head kicks and flying knees, and will also look to take the fight down to the mat. He is very strong. He'll lift guys up and throw them down on top. He has good ground and pound. He's very heavy once he does get on top of his opponents. But he looks horrible on his back. It looks terrible on his back. He'll just cover up and look for a way out. He has no answer for when he's put on his back, and that's obviously not going to be good here. He has been finished in all of his losses, and like I said, was even finished in the Tough House, so he's been finished 4 times. I think this is a very bad matchup for Cole, hence the odds. And, honestly, like I said, Peterson was like minus 800. The lines come down. I mean, I think, minus 800, I wouldn't argue it because it's just a horrible matchup for Cole. Some final thoughts I have on this matchup. This should be Peterson all day. He should be able to get this fight down to the mat. He should be able to get on top. And once he gets on top of this guy, I mean, the fight's going to be over shortly after. I hated what I saw from Cole when he gets taken down and, flattened out on his back. If Peterson gets on top, he's going to be in serious trouble. I like Peterson to dominate this fight, find a finish, first round, ground and pound, get on top, get him out, and get this guy out of here. I think Thomas Peterson actually has some serious upside in the heavyweight division. This guy's only 26 years old. I think this guy could be a problem. I really do. This guy's wrestling, ground and pound's no joke. And I think Peterson's very good. So give me Thomas Peterson, and I think he wins this fight via first round TKO, ground and pound. All right, time for the main event here. We have Dylan Salvador going against Bolaji Oki. We have Salvador. We'll start with him. He's 30 years old, 5'9", 5-1, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Oki, this guy's 27 years old, 5'10", 7-1, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. So we'll take a look at the odds here. Salvador, slight favorite, minus 165, and then Oki is a plus 135 underdog. So Salvador, looks like his home gym is Nasser K, but he's doing some work lately at the PI, and looks like he's doing some work at Killcliff FC, which is great. In terms of notable wins or losses, in terms of MMA, really nobody, but he did actually beat Giga Chikadze in kickboxing in 2017, which is good. And then a 100% finish rate for Salvador. So what's weird about Salvador is this guy is like a very good kickboxer with a kickboxing background and Muay Thai background, but he's actually finished 80% of his wins by submission, 20% by knockout, a 100% finish rate. So not only does he have that Muay Thai and kickboxing background, but he has a very good submission game as well. This guy's well-rounded. A very, very high-level striker, very good striking defense. He's patient on the feet, and he's very defensively sound. This guy's a very technical striker. I like his striking a lot. Extremely hard kicks. He mixes up those kicks to the body, to the legs, to the head, and he really attacks those legs with those leg kicks, which is awesome. He does have sneaky power in his hands as well, but his leg kicks are his go-to. I mean, his leg kicks are nasty, and he does do his best work when he is coming forward and pressuring. So I have seen him taken down pretty easily, honestly. But he threatens with submissions off of his back, and he does a very good job at getting up. He does a very good job at, using, submission attempts to just scramble, work his way back up to his feet, reverse position, and he seems very comfortable, on the mat for a guy that does have an extensive, kickboxing, Muay Thai background. This guy seems very comfortable once the fight does hit the ground. His takedown defense, though, it could be a concern. It really could. I've seen him get taken down a lot. I saw him get taken down 4 times in 1 round in a fight. So, yeah, the takedown defense does not look good. And he seems to get taken down in like pretty much every single fight I've seen. But he's a solid grappler. He's a very solid grappler. Really good striker. Like I said, but 4 of his 5 wins come by submission. So he's good everywhere. He's going to be good everywhere. On the feet, he's going to be dangerous with those kicks. And then on the ground, he's going to be dangerous with those submission attempts as well. I think he's a very well-rounded, really good fighter, Dylan Salvador. As far as Bolaji Oki, He's training at, I think his home gym's Da Vinci, but it looks like he's been doing some work at Extreme Couture for this fight here, which is good. Extreme Couture, very good camp. Notable wins or losses, none. This guy hasn't really fought the best competition. Solid finisher in Oki. This guy has a 70% finish rate, 56% of those coming by knockout, and 14% of those coming by submission. So some notes I have on Oki, this guy pressures early. He relies a lot on head movement, and he keeps his hands down at times. He's very aggressive, lots of kicks to the body, to the legs. I love the volume that he brings to the table, and he has very fast hands. His striking defense worries me a lot here. He kind of has that like Dusko Todorovic striking defense where, his head movement's really good, but his hands are like all the way down to his waist at times. Like, he's relying on the head movement, and it's great. He's good at it, but man, against a high-level striker and Salvador, I don't know if that's going to be the best game plan there. He does his best work coming forward as well and does not seem to really be that great on his back foot backing up. So he will go for takedowns, but that's not really his game. And I actually think I'll be at a grappling disadvantage here. I could see him getting takedowns. If he wants a takedown, he gets it. I mean, Salvador folds like a lawn chair anytime somebody tries to take him down. So I think Oki might go for takedowns, but like I said, Salvador is no joke on the mat. For a striker, this guy's grappling is really good. So final thoughts on this matchup. Very good main event. I think both these guys are pretty solid. I think it's another well-matched fight. I think it's primarily going to be a striker versus striker matchup here, and I feel like Salvador's striking background is going to go a long way here in this matchup. I don't like the hands-down style of Oki against someone who can land nasty head kicks. I think Salvador is actually going to have the grappling advantage here as well if this fight hits the mat, and this guy's a slick grappler. I'm going to take Salvador to win this fight, and I'm going to take him to win it actually by club and sub. I think he's going to land a big head kick. I think Oki's going to get hurt. I think Salvador's going to take the back and choke this guy out. But, yeah, Oki's not bad. It's just I think Salvador has a lot of ways to win. I think Salvador is going to have more tools on the feet. I like the striking like in terms of striking defense, Salvador's striking defense is very, very good. Whereas Oki, like I said, I don't like that hands completely down head movement type style. It works for him. It works against some of these other guys, but against a high-level striker in Salvador, I'm not so sure there. So give me Salvador for the win. I'll say first round club and sub. There you have it, guys. Those are the picks and the breakdowns for Dana White's Contender Series week number 4. Again, sorry about the late release. UFC Paris has been just a nightmare to tape. There's so many new people coming into this Paris card, and then I had to tape, these new guys as well, so it just took a lot longer than usual. But yeah, guys, if you guys could please do me a favor, leave a like on your way out, subscribe to the channel, check out dfsbythenumbers.com if you want extra content or if you do want to support me more. And yeah, be on the lookout for UFC Paris content, full card breakdown dropping probably Tuesday. And yeah, guys, enjoy the fights. Best of luck with your bets and your picks, and we'll talk to y'all soon. See you later.